Hi everyone, I'm Alika Lifty, and today we're going to brew geometry on filter. We're going to do the Kalita Wave with 20 grams of coffee, ground medium fine, finer than you would for a regular drip coffee pot, but not quite as fine as you might for a Hario V60. This Kalita recipe is a little bit finer than traditional, but that's really all we need. And we're going to be using 300 grams of water set to 205 degrees Fahrenheit. This recipe is built to highlight the bright citrus notes in geometry, as well as the sweet honey and creamy texture. We're going to need a Kalita Wave with paper filter, a decanter, gram scale with timer or a separate timer. You'll need your coffee mug, your dose of coffee, and a gooseneck kettle. We prefer a variable temp electric kettle. This allows me to set my temperature at exactly 205 degrees. If you don't have that, go ahead and boil your water and just let it rest for a few seconds. Let's get started first with wetting our filter. For a Kalita, I'm going to gently hold the filter in place. I'm going to pour straight in the middle, let that filter hold, and then lightly rinse the edges of this filter. These waves or ripples in this filter are important for the Kalita to maintain its airflow. If we pour too heavy on these edges, it's going to fold over and you're going to get an inconsistent brew. When that's done draining, I like to use this water to also preheat my mug. All right, let's dose our coffee. That's 20 grams of coffee poured straight into your Kalita. Give that a shake flat. This recipe is going to be split into 4 separate pours. It's a relatively quick brew. Geometry, being made up of partially Ethiopian beans, is going to drain a little bit longer with this recipe at around 3 minutes. But if you're brewing a more traditional coffee like a Colombia, we'll expect that to drain even faster, more like a V60 would. All right, be sure to tare your scale and set your timer back to 0, and we're ready to get started. I'm going to start my timer and bloom 50 grams of water. Pour lightly, working your way to the outside of this Kalita, saturating all of these coffee grounds, stopping at 50 grams. And we're going to let this bloom or rest for 30 seconds. This is our bloom phase. It's degassing our coffee, prepping for extraction. At 30 seconds, I'm going to pour heavy right in the middle to 150 grams. This is agitating our coffee, creating an even slurry, and raising our water level up, generating a lot of heat for this Kalita to maintain. That single pour in the middle is aggressively agitating all of our coffee from a central point. At 1 minute, I'm going to do that same central pour, this time to 225 grams. At 1 minute and 30, I'm going to finish off this pour with an even circular pour, finishing off at our total 300 grams. Those central pours stirred up our coffee, maintaining a lot of heat for an even extraction early on, and keeping a quick flow rate on this Kalita, faster than a traditional recipe here. Drop in the middle, pour evenly, working your way to the outside, pushing all of those high and dry grounds back into our brew bed, finishing off at 300 grams. That last even pour is creating a more flat brew bed, giving us a really even extraction. If this coffee drains pretty quick at around 2.5 minutes, this is going to be too bright citrus, more like lime and lemon, and a little bit salty and weak. If this coffee drains too long at around 3.5 minutes, our black tea note is going to overpower the rest of these flavors. I'm not going to get much blueberry or citrus Instead, it's going to be more muddled, like an oversteeped fruit black tea. But when our coffee brews right at our target, at around 2:45 to 3 minutes, we get a sweet balanced cup. I'm going to get blueberries, sweet lemon, honey, black tea, and it's going to be a smooth, juicy, and citric finished coffee. Waiting for our water to not only drain through the top of this brew bed, but also finish dripping out the bottom. We should have a nice flat brew bed with this. Be sure to dump your preheat water. Serve. And enjoy.